All right, so here is the key. So it says to classify triangle ELN by its angle measures. If I'm going to use angle measures, that means it's not equilateral, not scaling, not any of that kind of stuff. Triangle ELN, which is this one, I need to be able to classify that by its angle measures, which means I need all three angle measures. So if I don't know that one, I can say x plus 68 plus 68 equals 180. So x plus 136 equals 180, which means x equals 44. Okay, so 44 degrees there. And so to classify it by its angle measures then, all three angles are acute, so that is an acute triangle. Then I'm going to classify triangle LNA by its angle measures, which is this one right here, which means I need my other angle measures, so I'm not assuming anything. And so I need to find this one and call that y. So y plus 68 equals 180. So y equals 112. So since this is 112, I actually don't even need the other one because that is an obtuse angle. If you have one obtuse angle, then you are an obtuse triangle. Then I'm also going to classify LEA by its angle measures. So LEA is this big thing, the big one. So I know this one's 68. If I add those two together, that's going to give me 58 here. And then I need to figure out this third one. So z plus 68 plus 58 equals 180. So that's 110 and 16, so 126. Z plus 126 equals 180. Oops. So z equals 54 degrees. So this is 54 degrees. All right, and then so the big triangle, LEA, all three of those angles are acute angles as well, so this is an acute triangle. Oops. Does it look like an acute triangle? No. Does that matter? No. Okay. We good? All right, so then I have to classify triangle MRS by its side lengths. Okay, side lengths. And if this is 5, this is 5. I have no idea what this is, and I don't have enough information to find it. The best I can do here in this little tiny blank is an isosceles triangle. Okay. Alrighty. So here on number 3, I am looking for the measure of angle H and the measure of angle C. This 100 right here is an exterior angle, right? So the exterior angle is equal to the two remote interior angles added together. The problem is I don't have either one of them, and those aren't congruent. This is an isosceles triangle, which means these two angles here are congruent. So I can find that out by using the fact that this is a linear pair. So x plus 100 equals 180. So x equals 80. So this is 80 degrees. So is this one. So this is 80 degrees. And then the measure of angle C, it is going to be, we'll call this one y. So y plus 80 equals 180. So that means y plus 160 equals 180. So y equals 20 degrees. Okay. One of the things that some of you are struggling on is not showing your work when you think it's easy and ridiculous. That'll get you counted wrong real quick. And not explaining when you think you don't need to, even though I've said it. I can tell you by looking at the papers I took up today, lots of things were not labeled and not explained when every single example I did was labeled and explained, and the directions clearly state that. So make sure you're reading directions and thinking about what is expected of you. It's not just about being able to be the first one to yell out the number. Okay, so on this one here, we are not going to work this one the same way. This is an exterior angle. but I don't need to subtract it. And sometimes this is not a number, it's an expression, so you don't want to find out what this is. The exterior angle is equal to the two remote interior angles added together, which means 128 is equal to 4x plus 7 plus 6x minus 9. This setup has nothing to do with 180. Okay? So then this gives me 128 equals 10x minus 2. So 130 equals 10x, and x equals 13. Okay, so it doesn't ask me for x, it actually asks me for angle AEV. AEV is this angle right here. So I need to do 13, or 4 times 13, plus 7. So 4 times 13, 2 times 13 is 26, double that again, and get 52 plus 7. So that's equal to 59 degrees, 59 degrees, right? And you got to make sure you're reading the question, because it may be one of those, it may be this one that it's asking you for, which means you need to plug it in here too and figure it out from there. Okay? Any questions at this point? Awesome. All right. Number 5. All right, so triangle TIM. We got to look at how these are labeled. Here's the first thing that a lot of you missed on this kind of question on the quiz. I have to put a triangle here to name the second one. So T corresponds to Y, which means Y comes first. I corresponds to K, and then M corresponds to A. And the length of AY is congruent, or I'm sorry, line segment AY is congruent to line segment TM. Same thing. The triangle matters the order, but when you're naming a line segment, still it could be in either direction. All right, so then on this one, number 7, we are given that triangle QRS is congruent to TUV. So when I get to draw the triangles, I'm going to label them to where the corresponding pieces are in the same spot. That helps. So Q goes with T, which is up at the top, and then U and V. That way everything's lined up, like makes more sense when you look at it. So QS, the length of QS is 2y minus 4.5. TV is 1.5y. And then that's all I have, and these are the congruent pieces. So I'm going to set that up and get 2y minus 4.5 equals 1.5y. Now, I would not suggest moving this because it's by itself. That's where a lot of you are going to go wrong. So I'm going to move this 2y over here, which means I'm going to subtract it. So I get negative 4.5 equals negative 0.5y. Which means then when I solve that, I'm going to get y equals 4.5 divided by, or negative 4.5 divided by negative 0.5. So the negative signs are going to cancel out. You can move the decimal place over on each one and think of it as 45 divided by 5, which is just 9. So y equals 9. All right, so then doesn't ask me for that. It asks me for the length of QS. So I've got to plug it back in over here. So I'm going to get 2 times 9 minus 4.5. So this is going to be 18 minus 4.5. So 18 minus 4 is 14. Subtract 0.5 more and you get 13.5. Alrighty, so then number 8, one acute angle of a right triangle has a measure of 74.3. What is the measure of the other acute angle? Well, the two acute angles are complementary, so if the other one is, we'll call it x, so x plus 74.3 has to equal 90. So I'm just going to subtract 74.3 from both sides. So 90 minus 70 is 20. When I subtract 4 more, I'm at 16. I subtract 0.3 more, and I am at 15.7. 15.7 degrees. Do it in pieces. It will help a lot. Okay? Alrighty. Number 9. I'm just looking for the variable on these two, and I have the 3 angles of a triangle, so I know that they had to give me 180. So G plus 2G plus G minus 20 equals 180. So that's going to give me 4G equals 200. So G equals 50. It is just 50. It is not 50 degrees because it's just the variable. So on this one, exterior angle, I do not want to subtract it from 180 to find that. The exterior angle is equal to the two remote interior angles added together. So 3E minus 22 equals E plus 80, which means that 2E is equal to 102 and E equals 51. Everybody good with all that? Any questions? All right, so here I'm going to find each measure. This is a mid-segment question. I know that this is a mid-segment of a triangle because it connects the midpoints of the two sides of the triangle. And just like we did when I went through this with you, before I even worry about what the questions are asking, I'm going to think about what I know over here. Since these two pieces are congruent, because that's the midpoint, the mid-segment is half the length of the third side and parallel to it. So that means that this is the same length. So if this is 32.4, this is 32.4, and this is 32.4. Oops, I almost wrote that. And then this right here is also a mid-segment because it connects these midpoints. So it is parallel to this side and half its length, which means it has one little hash mark on it. Since the sides or the pieces are parallel, like this one is parallel to this one, that makes this a transversal, and these are alternate interior angles. Okay? All those things can help me, and maybe they didn't even ask me, like I have this labeled, that may not even be what it asks me for, but I've kind of wrapped my mind around what's going on up here, all right? So then I can go look at the questions. All right, so first I'm looking for the length of BC. All right, well, BC is this mid-segment. It is parallel to this third side, and it's half its length. So the setup is that the mid-segment, which is BC, is equal to half the length of the third side, which is 70.2. So that means that's just going to be 35.1. I'm going to label it here. Okay. Then I'm looking for the length of XZ. Okay, so XZ is this whole thing. Again, the mid-segment is equal to half of this length. So the mid-segment I know, 32.4, is equal to half the length of XZ, which means to figure out what XZ is, I just multiply both sides by 2. So this times 2 is going to give me 64.8. Now the length of XC. Well, I already have that labeled because I knew those were congruent, so that is 32.4. The measure of angle BCZ. BCZ is this one that I already happen to label is congruent to this one because they are alternate interior angles. My answer is 42 degrees. Okay. I didn't label anything that required any work over there. See, I had to set these up here to show that what I was doing with them, but the other ones were just knowing what was congruent and that sort of thing. All right, so then angle BAX. BAX is this angle right here. It is not congruent to that one. However, these are parallel. If this is my transversal here, then these are same side interior angles, right? And I already know that that's 42, so I can say, I'm just going to call this X so that I don't have to use all that. So X plus 42 equals 180, so X equals 138. Okay, degrees. All right, and let me see if I can do 16 before the bell rings. YXZ is this one right here. These are corresponding angles also, so they're congruent, and this is 42 degrees. Okay? All right, so that's part 1 of the review. The other parts will be in a separate video.